This is Novatalk Television, and we're on the Vanguard show. Gad Kanyesi is the host. You can as well call me the Patriot. Today, I'm delighted to have 3 gentlemen in the house, and they win themselves a title as the vanguards. I welcome you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I'm so happy I have Ewan Michael Kuichiriza, who is a Pan-African, and he refused me to call him a security expert. So I won't call you a security expert. Michael, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Gad, and good afternoon, viewers. Thank you.
I have Ewan Mark Mwansa, who is an ICT expert, a Pan-African, and he understands politics of our nation.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here.
Thank you very much. Ewan Gideon, a Vanguard, you're welcome.
I'm excited to be on the Vanguard once again, and I don't take a single chance I get to appear on the Vanguard for granted. I'm really honored to be debating national issues.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, feel at home. This is our show. Going forward, we all know last week the UPDF deployed in DR Congo. And it is not their first time. They were there in 1965, they were there in 1998, they were there in 1999 and 2000. But that deployment followed the twin bombings here in the capital, one at CPS and Parliament. We've had all of those discussions over the past week. But again, we do not take it for granted as a nation when UPDF deploys. We've had issues with Parliament not agreeing with the deployment. So we shall be discussing all of those issues. Another issue that we shall tackle today is about economic recovery. We've had Corona, we've had a lot of challenges, we've had bombs, we've had... so we do think that they have affected our economy. So we shall discuss on the way forward. How can we recover? We've had the debt burden as a country. We shall tackle all of that. Let me start with Michael. Michael, what do you make of the UPDF deployment in DR Congo?
Thank you very much, my brother and the moderator of the show. First and foremost, as a peace-loving Ugandan, I ably support the deployment of our national force into DRC Congo. What is important, in my view, my brother and colleagues, is that Ugandans should focus onto the aim of the deployment. Let us focus onto the substance rather than the form. We all understand that a few weeks ago, like you mentioned at the beginning of the show, we had the twin bombings here, both here at CPS and at Parliament. A few weeks prior, we had similar incidents of the same. And we've been reliably informed by the head of state himself that the source of all this was ADF. And a country has been reliably informed that ADF, the source of ADF, or the safe haven for ADF is in where? DRC.
In North Kivu.
Exactly. You saw exactly the information. Now, in my view, it was a wise undertaking. The government of Uganda engaged the government of Kinshasa. They had a harmonized position. They needed to deal with the problem as of yesterday. Now, remember, these terrorists have not been harassing us alone, even our counterparts in DRC. And you know, we share a lot in common with the people of DRC. Comes to trade, strategic security. We all need to. We live together as a family. So having finished all of that, then that is what precipitated the deployment. So the strikes, the deployment of our force to DRC, to me is timely, and it should be applauded by every Ugandan.
Thank you very much, Michael. Mark, you've heard the question, but again, I was reading news yesterday, and I read that the parliament of DR Congo welcomed our forces, and yet our parliamentarians here are disagreeing with the mode in which we deployed in DR Congo. What do you make of our deployment?
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. I'm glad to be here to discuss these issues. My take on the deployment of our forces, our national force, into a neighboring country, to me, we can't find any other timely decision in very many years this government has made. It was timely, it was strategic in nature, and it's a typical Ugandan decision. So, first of all, I want to thank the UPDF administration and their commander-in-chief for being so bold enough and to show to Ugandans that they matter very much. The deployment has been, first of all, very sudden. This is the least thing we expected as Ugandans, because the twin bombings were just a fortnight ago, and no one saw that coming. But the visionary and the decision-making of our politicians, our executive, maybe our army administration, it has really helped us. Our parliament not approving it is not something that we can really dwell on so much. There is no way you're going to attack an enemy and you have to deliberate about it at the floor of parliament.
But again, Mark,
we really know the constitution provides
absolutely,
for that.
absolutely,
It really does.
And they were supposed
But
to
the
be
nature-
informed. They were supposed to be informed within 72 hours,
Exactly.
which the state did not do.
We are well aware there is no formal communication to parliament about the army deployment in DRC, but the nature of our enemy and the situation the UPDF had at hand, they had to swing in as fast as they could, leaving behind the deliberations on the floor of parliament. You would imagine the noise it would create and the awareness it would raise for our enemy. So I think it was timely. The constitution can always be attended to at some point. We don't say it was something that we really celebrate, but the situation, I think people who really put these things together, people who made up our constitution, they should have provided for such situations. You have an enemy to hit a few kilometers in a neighboring country, and you're at the floor of parliament in your own country discussing on how to attack an enemy. That was going to be another story. I'm sure they registered much more success there than they would have registered if they had to first discuss it with parliament. So they would always find a way of harmonizing with our constitution, but the decision to do that was very timely without even informing parliament. That's my take on it.
Thank you, Mark. Gideon, you remember the attacks in DR Congo in 2000, with which it attracted conflict between Uganda and Rwanda. Here we are back in DR Congo. What could be the implications of our deployment?
God and the viewers and my colleagues here, we need to look at all angles of this debate. You realize that, first of all, we need to understand, to talk about Congo as a nation. Why have we had conflicts in Congo for a long time and they are not ending? That's a question. Is it because Congo is out of Africa? Maybe we've seen so many other countries get their conflicts done. Why Congo? We all need to understand that Congo is rich in terms of natural resources. It is actually, I think, the richest in Africa. It should be the richest in the whole world, but those who rank cannot admit that. It is not only the UPDF in Congo, for starters. We have so many other. We have the United Nations.
Moscow.
Yes, Moscow. United Nations. What's the name? I'm forgetting the name. United Nations Stabilization Mission in DRC, which has been supported by so many countries. I think about 20 countries. These countries have given their military forces. Some have given police, their police officers, to join and, like the name, to stabilize Congo. My question is, have they failed? No, they cannot fail. United Nations is a tool of the United, that's according to me, is a tool of the United States. Whatever United States wants to achieve, it goes through the United Nations. So how is the United States failing to stabilize Congo with all they have? Are they actually failing to stabilize, or they are instead creating instability so they can keep in Congo? What has been happening in Congo is scramble for natural resources. You asked me a very sharp question. You remember in 2000, UPDF was there, and the Rwandese army was also there, and they went there to fight for a common cause. You want to stabilize. How do you end up fighting now? It's just like now you tell me that UPDF is working in alliance with the DR Congo army, and now they end up fighting. How can they fight? That means you didn't go to stabilize. There is something else that you did not agree.
So are you justifying that even today, as we deploy in DR Congo, that's the reason as to
I am giving you a history so that we do not look at a certain angle. I want us to look through all angles. I want the viewer to know. You saw a statement from the United Nations. They were asking, so now that Uganda and DRC have joined forces to attack the enemy, are you withdrawing? He said, no, we cannot withdraw. Congo is very huge. They will be that side, we shall be this side. Why don't you instead join them? So that's there's a lot of mediocrity in people. I do not want to think that Uganda is part, but there is a lot of mediocrity in Congo, of states claiming to stabilize Congo, and they are doing contrary. The United Nations through the United States, has been able to put down big terrorists. You talk of Saddam Hussein. You talk about the not a terrorist, Gaddafi, who had machinery and everything, and was state sponsored. They termed him a dictator. They fought him, within no time he was gone. You cannot tell me that they are failing to defeat these small groups of rebels in Congo. You understand?
But also, I'm reliably informed that in North Kivu we have over 40 militia groups. In Southern Kivu we have over 160 militia groups. So really, with that hurabari in the whole of DR Congo, I would really expect that much engagement with the UN and then other forces.
Then how fruitful is the engagement? We are not saying. God, you need to understand that we are in, I would say, post-COVID times. Economies have been put down. Every state now is looking on how they can get back on feet. You understand? So all these things we need to think about. Why now has the ADF just, because you just gave us the history, the ADF has been in Congo. It is not the first time the ADF is attacking Uganda. In the first place, when they attacked and we fought them and pushed them to Congo, why didn't you fight until you destroyed all of them? Why do you have to first leave them there to restructure and get to a point of even joining the ISIS, a bigger, then you now, when they come and attack, then you retaliate.
Thank you very much, Gideon. I will get back to you. Michael, do you really agree with Gideon's school of thought?
First and foremost, my brother, I want to say that as far as for example, for myself, I am apolitical. So I want to give my view.
Increase your volume.
I want to give my view as a concerned Ugandan or as an East African. First of all, it's very right actually. We need to understand that UN has been in the DRC or other African countries for so long.
In DRC to be specific, since 1999.
Exactly. Where is the problem? Since that time, DRC has not stabilized. Therefore, Africans should get out of this deception. There is no way we can be stabilized by a foreign force. A foreign force will always be here strategically for certain interests. Now, where is the center of gravity of Africa? In most of us as a region. So for me, we need to look into a bigger picture. Why is it that UN is concerned with the question my brother posed? Why do they want us to withdraw? Why?
Do they want UPDF to withdraw?
No, what I'm saying is, because he told us that when there was an interview with the UN person, he said UN wants to know the period of the deployment. But we should be able to understand that you have told us that in those people alone, they are more than
40
militias. Why can't we deal as the region, deploying our assets? Why can't we deal with our problem once and for all? Because what is fundamental at the end of the day, my brother, is strategic security for our people. If we don't have that strategic security, then the other sectors of state economies will definitely crumble. So, to some extent, he's right. But I wanted to give a hint on the approval, the deploy, on the information the government side to have
Parliament.
Yes.
In particular. Yeah.
In particular. You see, my brother, when it comes to the issues of security, like my brother said, we need to shift from our political. We should not discuss this using political undertones, or maybe discussing these issues with political emotions. I want to approve the parliament of
DRC. Yeah.
Because in my view, they seem to have understood the mission of the deployment. When we are faced with terrorist attacks, terrorists don't attack people based on their political affiliations. They use what we call indiscriminate violence against anybody. So, if, for example, that bomb hit the parliamentary, hit parliament, were MPs going to be spared, MPs from government side, or all of them? So I applaud our members of parliament to be ideologically conscious about the issues of national importance. So on that, therefore, I know it is a requirement of law under Article 124 of our Constitution. But like you see, Parliament is an open place. It's people debate on camera.
Can I inform my brother in 1 second?
Yes, please.
I want my brother to understand that the Parliament of DRC was actually formally informed by the executive, by the leadership of Kisekedi, and it's shocking how he came to power. But he knew that it was important for him to inform the Parliament on what they were going to do. They were formally informed. Until today, our Parliament has not been formally informed.
Let me come in there. And respectfully, I would like to disagree with you. You are not dealing with someone who is selling mango on the street. You are dealing with the terrorists. There are other maneuverist approaches these people use. So the moment you wait to formalize and have the document read on the floor of Parliament, you are allowing an enemy to attack you.
But it is the same rebel we are talking about who is in DRC and Uganda is attacking.
Gentlemen,
that's the difference.
The DRC government has informed
My
the
brother,
parliament.
my brother, Mr. God, that's the difference between us and DRC. DRC has been stabilized for as many years, the years you've mentioned. Uganda has stood on its knees and fought. We have had over 26 insurgencies, but defeated by armed forces. What has caused that? Internal capabilities. And number two, ideological clarity. For example, if for example we're enemies, but then you come you come on the street and say, tomorrow I'm going to beat Michael, then I would first and foremost understand which weapons are you using in order to understand your strength. In order to understand the art of war, the theater
No,
of
gentlemen.
war.
Gentlemen.
Therefore, for me, as I'm concluding, to me, though it is a procedural issue, but then we need to look at the bigger picture of concealment, for example, of the mission. Because these terrorists, my brother, you know how they attack. You need to supply them, and that's what the forces of the two sister states.
Thank you very much, Michael. Let me get back to you, Mark.
Yes.
You've had the two gentlemen agree to disagree.
Yes.
Do you think our deployment now, depending on these two people's arguments, has good intentions?
Thank you. First of all, I think we need to understand the politics of our Great Lakes,
Exactly.
East Africa and Central Africa. We are glad, I don't know why we all believe that in President Museveni, the region has a kingmaker who is very strategic at making those decisions over and over again. Presidents are flying in from every part of the world. They have turned this into a pilgrimage of sorts, coming for advice, security, whatever. So we have to understand our Great Lakes story here in Eastern Central Africa. DRC being either one of the biggest or if not the biggest African country, it's a diverse nation, very diverse, and it's a safe haven for very many.
It is the second largest.
It's the second largest on the continent, and it's a safe haven for very many militia groups. Whichever group wants to attack a neighboring country, those who are attacking Rwanda have their base there. Those who are attacking Uganda have their base there. Those who are attacking Central Africa have their base there. Mozambique, the last time they have a base there. And Eastern Congo has been in a total mess. Plundered, rebel movement. It's a whole mess. So I wouldn't find out of 10 Ugandans, I would think 8 out of 10 Ugandans who have ill intentions, who don't have ill intentions for this country. I would want them to agree with whatever happened, this kind of deployment. We should reflect back and look at the 1999, 97 Chisangani story, the plundering, the verdict that came out. I think that is a lesson that we learned out of that Congo deployment. We hope that won't happen again in this kind of deployment. We hope 25 years ago or 20 years ago, our soldiers and our military is more professional now, is more administratively well structured. It has fought very many wars it hadn't fought by that time. We hope we won't repeat those same mistakes that we had those very many years ago. Another thing I want us to understand comes back to the same story of our Great Lakes story. We are a country that we think we have a hostile neighborhood. I don't know, I would say that with a very low tone, but we have a hostile neighborhood that is really, you have a border closed southern part of the country. You have in the western Uganda, you have ADF coming over and over again to attack you. You're not sure whether it's good when you cross Nimule up there in South Sudan. It was also packed up with rebel groups. So that neighborhood itself, it doesn't give us any time to debate on what to do. When the military takes a decision like it did, we should let them and we should respect their decision. Those are men and women in uniform, laying down their lives for us. I was looking at pictures of them crossing the border and under the command of General Muhanga, you just look at them and you feel like shedding a tear. They have put their life on the line for this country. So I think out of 10 Ugandans, let 9 be positive with the deployment that happened.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Going forward, first of all, I will joke about this, but we shall find something to deliberate about. First of all, don't you think, Gideon, don't you think UPDF used excessive force? We saw the use of Sequoia, we saw the use of those big machineries for bases of ADF that we really think we knew where they are, because we targeted where they are, where they were, and somehow it's as if we shall trigger arms race in DR Congo. What do you make of our forces and the excessive force we used?
There is no small force that I would recommend for a rebel group. If our government is indeed attacking with the intentions of attacking a rebel group, of attacking DF, in retaliation to the attacks we had here, there shouldn't be a minimal force. Why? Because this is the reason we keep surfacing in DR, because we do not attack to finish. We just attack and leave, then until we are attacked again, then we go back. So the force is okay, but the force, you also need to understand that the force is not just a force of attacking a rebel group. It is also a signal to some other people that, well, don't joke with me. You understand there has been issues between Uganda and Rwanda, and it goes back to the same question. You have the M23 in Congo, and Uganda accuses Rwanda of being behind the M23. Rwanda does the same, and everyone is now confused. Who is behind M23? It all goes back to my initial, there is scramble for resources in Congo, and you will always see these games happen. You understand? Now, what will draw the line between Uganda and these other countries that invade Congo with the intentions of exploitation? We are here, and I will be on this same show, and I will be asking you and my colleagues, because what is the timeline? For how long are our troops going to be in the DRC Congo?
As long as ADF is wiped out.
This could go on for 10 years.
We know how long?
Who knows?
You don't know how long.
So we don't know how long. So the longer we stay in the DRC Congo, the longer we get answers. We are paying a debt of billions to DRC Congo. You understand? Because of what happened in the past.
Actually, someone was saying, to interrupt you.
It's okay.
Someone was saying that what is happening, we could have ADF story in the whole picture. ADF, we are attacking ADF, but someone was saying it's going to be a neutral ground for some two countries to battle it out, show their military might. After 5 months from now, we shall get to know the bottom line of this story and this deployment.
Okay, let him conclude.
Yes.
Then
to be very specific, I watched an interview of the president of Rwanda. I think he's a very emotional person, that he could not keep it to his heart. He said it clearly that they are not in good terms with President Museveni. He said, we no longer talk. He said, I cannot open borders, I'm not even thinking about it, when I have my people who have been tortured and rotting in prisons in Uganda. You understand? So, well, on the last show, I talked about the kinds of bombings we had. I was with Owen on this same show. when you look at the way terrorists attack, my friend, the intention of the terrorist is numbers. You know, you even know that Jubilee House and the CPS, they even
There
have
is security.
intensified security. Why would I attack there? I'm now assuming I'm a terrorist. Would you really attack there when you have Chikuwo, which is packed with hundreds of thousands of people? No. I am not insinuating anything. What I'm saying is that we need to look on all sides. As my colleagues here applaud the government of all this, they also need to analyze these issues. You understand? So we need to be clear on what, because at the end of it all, it is us, the citizens, that are going to pay these debts. If we get another issue with Congo and we have to pay some other money, you understand? We are talking about deployment. I want to get back to my brother. You're saying the reason Uganda has been peaceful is the way it does, the difference in how it attacks, the approach to such issues. But now we are talking about the same enemy who is actually in DRC Congo. So what would there be for you to shock if the DRC Congo has declared in its parliament that us and Uganda are going to attack, and for you you're saying we want to shock. We want to shock them. Yet the DRC has already declared formally in parliament. What are you to
on that particular issue, I think I request my colleagues that they should not discuss these issues of security with theories or assumptions. First and foremost, we have an emergency. Our emergency as a country, in my view, was not to inform Parliament as a requirement of the law. Our emergency was to heal the enemy and then come back and inform Parliament.
We haven't informed.
No, what I'm saying,
we are discussing the constitution.
You get it?
You cannot destroy the constitution because you have an emergency.
You understand?
We are listening to Michael.
Now, because imagine what would have happened if we took all that time for conceptual framework, go on the floor of Parliament and minister or any person with the authority of the executive.
I think
inform Parliament. I'm coming. Inform Parliament, then come for the mission.
Gentlemen.
It is Article 124. It's a requirement of the law.
Gentlemen.
The Parliament still provides for emergency situations.
Michael,
and you inform the Parliament after 72 hours.
There's a point I wanted to make.
I think let's move further. We've all made our points. We shall instead repeat same points over and over again. You've made your point. Mark, you've made your point. Gideon, you've made your point. Let's go forward. We've had issues. Now we have a deployment there, and our sons, daughters, brothers and sisters will need a certain budget now. They will need money to help them wipe out ADF. Here in the country, we've had issues with the airport. You know what happened. All of those come back to the taxpayer. Where is the taxpayer now? We've been hit by coronavirus, we've been in lockdown. But at least somehow, the president assured us that in January, he's going to open the economy, whether we've vaccinated or we've not. So gentlemen on the panel, I pose this question to you. What do you think an individual needs to do to get himself out of that economic surge? And what do you really advise the government now to do to see that that particular individual gets out of the economic hit that we've got as citizens in this country? I will start with Mark.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gad. Our economy must be doing really bad now, having had 2 years of closure because of COVID-19. And like any other economy in the world, we are not doing well. What makes a difference is how continents and later on countries try to recover from the surge they have taken. From that deep fall that has occurred to their economies.
And raising prices of fuel.
Yes, first of all here in Uganda, very many parts of the country, in the countryside, it's just not been COVID alone. There's been excessive drought. There's been livestock outbreaks, like where I come from.
Diseases.
Almost 2 years.
FMD.
People are fighting FMD. Schools are closed. People have been going through a lot for the past 2 years. And it hasn't been Uganda alone. The whole world has been going through that. What comes to us now is how ready are we, first of all, as citizens, your own household, his household, and his household. How ready are we to get out of this? From your household to the community that you're in, to your sub-county administration, to your district administration, and later on to the local government, and to the central government, how ready are we as a country? It takes our willingness, all of us, to get out of this. We can't put this whole weight on anyone's head right now. We can't put this whole economic weight on anyone's shoulders right now. It's unbearable. It's our collective responsibility to come out of this economic depression. First of all, as a country, we have had, we've had those relief handouts by IMF, by World Bank, by even domestically. Even Ugandans, those who were doing much better than others, they stood up and they collected billions and billions of money. The multinationals. People have been doing this collectively, but as a country, we need to work on two things, first of all, right now. Our debt management policy, first of all. Now the talk that is in town is about our airport being mortgaged. The Attorney General the other day came out and dismissed all those rumors, which I think he was the right person to talk about them. We always pick this talk, street talk, and we amplify it. He told us how we had a grace period of 7 years and they have not even elapsed. So why would we have this street talk of airport being mortgaged or rebranded China International Airport, which I think was petty talk. We should not wish our country doom, first of all. So the country should, first of all, deal with the issue of debt management. It's very, very important. It's a key to every growing economy like our economy, first of all. If you have the discipline to pay back, then you're going to have as much money as you can. First of all, nowadays, China being our largest development partner, I think now.
Yes.
We are getting a lot of money from China. But they have always labeled Chinese money as a debt trap. They want to fix you somewhere and hit you so hard. And of course, we are living in a world where it's a China or US thing. So, as long as we master the debt management issue collectively, as this Museveni administration should do, that's when we shall handle most of our infrastructure, agriculture, and these other projects.
So, Mark, do you really think that the government is making efforts to enlarge the tax base? Because with debt management, you must first see how you can get taxes to finance the debt burden. So do you think the government is really on the right track as far as tax collecting is
No, it's really not convincing. First of all, we thank the government. We've seen URA being so streamlined. There have been a lot of changes here and there. The president has himself employed those he thinks can be trusted with our tax collection. When our taxes are collected here and Ministry of Finance is out there to plan for the money that we have in our coffers, we don't put it in mind that the way we collect money, let's say they collect 1 million, it gets to the ULA accounts when it's 800, it's transferred to Ministry of Finance when it's 500, and by the time it trickles down to the last person, to the Ugandan that it's meant to serve, to the taxpayer that does that. So I think it's really not as convincing as it's supposed to be, but I think we shall get there. All we should have is the trust. And another thing, the tax base, first of all, we have to wait for our economy to open in January, like the president, which all comes down to how many Ugandans are getting vaccinated, because we are getting variants from all over the world. So we never know by January. Omicron might be here.
We are not even sure whether we shall.
Exactly. So we're having this South African variant that is wrecking the world, and by January you'll never know where it will be. I think we are always the last airport to close before any other people, which is right. We are a small economy. We can't close out flights. That is really understandable. We want those flights in the country. So I'm saying we should focus so much on curbing corruption. That will calm down all our fears.
Which I really think is also a hard battle to.
It's a very hard fight. If there is anything President Museveni has struggled to fight,
it's
corruption. And he does that because it could start from his backyard.
Let me get to Michael. Michael, what do you think as a country we must do to get out of this economic depression that we've been in for the last 2 years?
Thank you very much, my brother. And before I come to that, allow me to respond to a question I didn't do earlier. I'm sorry. On the weight of the force used, like I posed it to my brother. You see, the weight of the force.
Michael, you're taking me back.
Just something small.
Okay, 1 minute.
Okay, sir.
Then you move to.
So the force used against the enemy, it is commensurate to the enemy's strength. So that weight was timely. Yes. Coming to the question.
It's a ragtag group. Where would you go at first?
You know. Okay, let's no. Let's continue to our.
It is you and I who say it's ragtag. But those who use the force,
Michael,
and I think the
let's proceed.
Now, my brother Mark Munyanson talked about debt management, and I think on this, I want to be so objective enough, like I've always been, that the government should focus on trying to avoid borrowing here and there. There is no ineconomy.
But borrowing is unavoidable.
What I'm saying, especially in Africa, I don't think an economy can grow or meet its target objectives or priorities without borrowing or basing its priorities on foreign funding. These donations or aid come with conditions. Now on this, we know that our debt, we know the status, how we are doing. It's almost on our neck. But now
are we above 50%?
But now the kind of relief that we have is that we are always given hope, a message of hope that the government is in control and it can be controlled. Because the challenge that we have now is corruption. It is corruption that is skyrocketing. It is corruption that is hindering economic growth. What should we do in order to come out of this economic crisis? Because you know that, like my brother said and him, COVID affected all global economies, ours inclusive. Now what should we do? In my view, the government should find a way of supporting these small medium businesses, give them some incentives, boost them. Number two, let all Ugandans go for vaccination. There has been this pedestrian talk by different people creating their own theories on the vaccines. That some are saying that they are not good, others, but basing on the guidelines given us by government, we need to go and vaccinate, because We don't know when we shall come. We shall see COVID getting done here or globally. We are told that it is a third variant. So when people are fully vaccinated, I believe the economy can be fully reopened, and then people can go back and hustle, and then get what to put into their pockets. Because what is important is for you to know that the country is developing. You need to understand how households are doing,
Are performing.
I think I lost what the head of state when he was saying that it is now 39% of Ugandans who are still in subsistence economy.
Really?
Previously it used to be 68 who are in subsistence economy. So by going with that kind of information, I think Ugandans should try by all means to make sure that they come to the money economy. And how do you do it? It's going out, trade, start small as you grow big. Let's have a mindset revolution. For example, and this goes to the
Michael, you're doing that kind of inspirational talk
yes,
to people who are fighting with the rising prices of fuel.
yes,
You know what it means in our economy.
yes,
To people who seem to be overtaxed.
yes,
To people who have been closed, mostly those in entertainment.
yes.
So when you're telling them to have a mindset change, to start small, it will sound too inspirational for people who are already battling with a lot of problems in the country. So I want you to put together your arguments to suit their problems.
Exactly.
What exactly should they do?
I was saying that we are currently faced with high prices of fuel. And I think in my view it's not our own making. I was in a different forum. I saw a certain government official giving explaining to the counters why we have these high prices of fuel. Said it's a regional problem. It's not here alone. It's in Tanzania. It's in Kenya, and he was giving figures so that Ugandans can know that it's not only us who are faced with this challenge. Now, with this challenge at hand, in my view, we didn't get where we are because of pleasure. There was an emergency which forced us. That is COVID. When COVID came, the economy shut down. So, it's now high time. We need to, first and foremost, get out of our comfort zones. Struggle. Because life is what we make it. It's about hustling. And number two, Ugandans should now focus on to the most important. If you don't have food, for example, if I don't have food in my home, I should struggle to get money that can buy a bunch of matoke rather than struggling to get...
As I conclude,
rather than struggling to get money that can purchase a phone. So we need to now understand the basics of money and then deal with them in this, as we are trying to get out of COVID-19. Yes.
Michael, thank you. Gideon, what do you think the government must do to see us through these turbulent times of economic shutdown?
Yes.
And as individuals, what should we do?
I want to talk about that, but I want to disagree with my brothers. The national debt has never been an issue to any country. Uganda, the national debt to GDP,
Yes.
okay, Uganda stands at 49.08%. But I can read for you countries that are even in 200.
In Kenya, they are 60.
Yes, 60 something.
Yes.
Japan stands at 237.54%. Are we better than Japan?
But those are big economies.
No, you see,
Gideon.
Let me read this. Sudan stands at 177.87%. Is it not running?
So you want Uganda to be like Sudan?
No, I am not suggesting.
You're supposing.
I am not suggesting that Uganda should be like Sudan. I am just trying to show you that you rarely find a country, a state that has no debt. Okay, and I am just trying to show you that the problem we are having today, the increasing price, is not because of the debt. We have issues, yes, with our agreements, and the Minister of Finance admitted that during the agreement of Uganda and China over the airport, there were agreement mistakes. We can agree, but I do not buy the idea that the debt is why we are having hiked fuel prices. It's not about the debt.
What he's saying is like him personally now. It's like I'm encouraging him to borrow as much money as he can because Dangote has a bigger debt. You get?
I do not want to think
he thinks 1 million. If he has a 1 million,
am I protected?
Wait, let him.
It's me encouraging either you, people that I know personally, and their status, encouraging you to borrow as much money as you can because
this one has
Dangote also did has
Oh,
bigger
thank
debt.
you. Yes, you make a point.
So I want him to put it clear and tell me where government has borrowed and the money has not been necessary, or that debt has not been necessary. You tell me, you give me that this money was borrowed and it was not required. We shouldn't have borrowed that money.
Money is always required.
The way those monies are appropriated is another issue. But government always, because this is not an individual, it's not a home. It's not. It is a state. They agree. There is due process. Even the parliament okays those dates. Okay, so you cannot think that they just borrow.
But we have no reason whatsoever to encourage borrowing as a country.
Exactly.
No, we have all reasons.
No,
you cannot.
as long as
members,
borrowing is okay if you have the very streamlined debt management policy, where you're not going to be in trouble.
Let me make
because,
a point.
First of all, this Exim Bank loan, first of all, the one we are talking about, the contentious issue that is talked all over the country right now. The moment those clauses in that thing, the way it was discussed, the moment you mess up, you might mortgage one of your most important.
Let's listen to
my point is the mistakes, okay, in the agreements, the recklessness of our officials
is another
different issue from borrowing. For God's sake, we can support. Is it even 50% of our budget? So how do you expect us to run on half a budget of our requirements? And even after appropriating a budget, we always have other budgets supplementaries coming in. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is that acquiring debts is not the problem.
We have less than 10 minutes.
Yes, let me make my point. Acquiring debts is not the problem. The problem is with the agreements and how we appropriate the funds after we have gotten them. You remember the project of that hospital in is it Rubowa?
Yes.
You saw what happened.
I don't know even what is happening now.
No, what is happening? The construction company came out to say that it was rainy. I don't know when it was so rainy that they could not finish the construction. Now that is where we should look and tackle those issues. If I was a president of Uganda, that construction company, because it is a foreign company, would not be in Uganda by now. Okay, these are the issues that we need. But let me tackle the question: how do we get out of this? I have said on this show before that we want to open, but we are not ready as a nation. It is Uganda that supplies Congo with fuel. You'll go, you can even research, but our prices here are higher than
Congo's.
Yes. Talk about electricity. Our lines feed Rwanda. Actually, most of these our electricity lines, but power is cheaper there. So these are the questions we need to address. Why do we supply a certain commodity or good or service to a country and it is cheaper there?
We have actually lost contracts to Malawi, to Zambia, due to prices of our produces, and yet
it would be funny if you found out that fuel is cheaper in Uganda than in Kenya, because we are a landlocked country. We get almost everything from Kenya, okay, and it would be funny. So,
Gideon, thank you very much for your analysis. I will give each one of you 1 minute to either talk about the topic, another minute to tell us about how your week will be, since today is the late night of Tuesday. You'll start with Michael. Tell us about your week, how it will be, and where you expect yourself, how you're going to start small and grow big, as you've been really lecturing the viewers.
God willing, I expect my week to be so fine. 2, I am a small farmer. I'll be down in the jungles of Kazo trying to make the ends meet. I'll be working here. But before I conclude, I'd want first Ugandans to have a sense of patriotism. We don't have any other country apart from this one. So those with positions of responsibility should extremely exercise such positions in order to serve their mother nation. Because positionism is not a correct line in ethics and philosophy. So those with responsibility, like if, for example, you are there in the public office to serve Ugandans, please do it with humility. This is your country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Mark Mwansa.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about how your week will be, and if you can really...
Thank you so much. First of all, on if I could touch a little on what we were saying, I think at the country, if we've been trekking in a desert, now we've gotten to a point where we can see some green, can see some water. We're almost getting out of this desert with the pipeline here, with Hoima giving us the oil, the agriculture being bigger than how it has been or how it has ever been, with the human capital that we have, how many people are graduating. So we are really getting there, and we shall get where we are supposed to be as a country by God's grace. Another thing, my week will be like any other week. Wake up and pray and go out there and hustle. We are here in Kampala.
I know.
We are in our last month of the year. We thank God for the previous 11 months. Just seek His grace so that we can make it to 2020.
Thank you very much, Mark.
You're welcome.
Gideon, my vanguard.
Well, I want to first appreciate Nova Talk Television and you, God, for always having me here. It is such a pleasure. Though I'm part of the management of the television, but it's not a must that I should be here. I will be busy during this week with Nova Talk Television business. On Sunday, this last Sunday, we premiered another show.
Oh,
yes, it's called the Tweet Talk. I want to believe that all of you here are on Twitter, so you should go and see. We discuss. You realize that Twitter is more of like a different planet, so you should go and visit and see. We shall be having the Twelebs. Those are
so those are celebrities, but on Twitter. Wow.
Yes. And I premiered it with Lone Child. You must be knowing him if you're on Twitter. But the subsequent shows, he will be the host of the show.
Oh.
I do not want to be the host of every other show. I will be on this same week. I will be having the I Inspire show, and I will be hosting the CEO of Jada Coffee, that lady, who is also from Twitter. Then I will be preparing for the next Tweet Talk and the Vanguard. So I will be busy with Nova Talk Television and myself. What I just want to make a disclaimer on this show, that I do not stand for any political party. I am an independent-minded, but a citizen of Uganda who stands for Uganda.
You're intimidating everyone, including viewers. Oh, dear viewers.
I don't know what is intimidating in my...
Dear viewers, we thank you for you've been with us since we started up to now. I encourage you to go and vaccinate. I I pray that God protects us all. Until next time.
I'm vaccinated.
Oh, thank you.
So far.
Thank you. This was good.